Hey, I'm Spenser.
And I'm Britton.
And I'm Sir.
Since 2011, Buckethead has released 286 albums in his Pikes series, and we're going to listen to them.
3 at a time.
This is Getting Head. Bucket
Cast. Welcome, bots, slugs, friends, and bucketheads. This is episode 24 of Getting Head, a Bucketcast.
24 like the show. Jack Bauer. Big Jack Bauer energy.
Oh, big Jack Bauer energy. Big torture apologist energy.
Shit.
Love.
So many people in that show. It's fucked up.
Yeah, no, it's just like, it's absolute like Middle Eastern torture porn. It's fucking nuts. Like the first 4 seasons is just like Kiefer Sutherland like torturing fucking like Middle Eastern dudes and going, "There's not enough time," and then that's literally it.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then Tony Almeida.
Yeah, pretty yikes.
That's it. Yeah. So we have a guest today.
We do.
My dad.
Yay!
Hello, sir. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you, Britt? How you doing, Spence?
I'm doing great.
Yeah, doing all right. Hanging in there.
Hanging in there is a good way of putting it.
Hanging in there, aren't we all?
Yeah.
Always.
The daylight saving time that happened recently messed me all up.
Yikes! Me too.
Yeah, I had to work really
too.
early the next day, and then I had to work really early the next few days after that. And as a result, I've just been so exhausted this week. It's been
right. It's just lighter, so much later, and it's really weird.
Yeah, it is weird, and I do really like that. It's cool seeing daylight in the evening.
Yeah, I like that. It's just there's an inconsistency with it, and I'd like maybe to live closer to the equator sometime in my life.
Could be nice.
Could be nice.
Peppers grow better there. You get better peppers. Better peppers, better life.
Better peppers. Interesting fact, 100 grams of bell pepper contains more water than 100 grams of Coca-Cola.
Serious? Wow.
Huh. That sounds like a thing you read on Reddit.
Don't give away the secrets of my forbidden knowledge.
Your black
That's not saying a lot for the hydrating quality of Coca-Cola, though, is it?
But it is saying a lot for the hydrating quality of bell peppers.
Yeah, I knew a guy back in Alaska, actually, who just exclusively drank Pepsi, regular Pepsi. He didn't drink water.
I thought you were going to say peppers, and I was really excited.
But he just drank Pepsi and was like, "No, this is fine. I'll just drink Pepsi." It's like, that guy's got to have diabetes by now.
Oh, 100%. 100%. But he has a Gen X diabetes, which is pretty cool.
Sure.
A grandma flavored diabetes?
She wasn't very Gen X, sir. Grandma was not Gen X. I mean, she had a ton of fucking Surge in her garage at one point.
That's pretty new metal. Surge is probably the most new metal of the...
Yeah, but she so the thing is, she bought it for me and my brother because it was on sale, and she didn't want it, and me and Beck were like, "No, we don't drink Surge. That's gross."
Come on, don't be a wuss.
And the problem is, though, because she had all that shit, and I think she eventually either drank it or threw it away, or so. Well, she couldn't drink it because she had diabetes.
I love the idea of grandmas drinking Surge, though.
Yeah, me too. And the thing is, though, we could have capitalized on that because she had cases of it, and now a can of original Surge for a while on eBay was selling for $100.
Whoa!
It was nuts.
I'm still curious where she got the government cheese that she gave you guys.
Oh, nice. Government cheese. Hell yeah, I know a thing or two about that.
I feel like she'd just go to the food bank and give us the food from the food bank. And I'm we could just go to the food bank.
I'm kind of thinking she might have, yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was more just like the expired goods and shit she had in her house, which was, to be fair, like most of the food she had in her house.
But where do you get government cheese?
Great question.
The government. Where do you think? Like, sir, you work for the government. Like, you know. Come on, just ask some questions. Like,
Okay.
and then some dudes in black suits show up at your door, like, Alan, we hear you've been asking a lot of questions about cheese. You need to come with us, and then we just never see you again.
It's above your clearance.
It really is. Like, the cheese questions are a little too heavy for the people upstairs, if you know what I mean.
Heck yeah. That's great.
Hell yeah.
Britt, how you doing?
You know, hanging out.
Rocking out?
That's about it.
Yeah.
Just hanging out.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, my sleep schedule also got just absolutely wrecked by daylight savings. Like, I haven't been able to go to bed until like 3 a.m. lately, and it's just been obliterating me. It's bad news bears.
Gotta fix it.
Real bad. Yeah. So
If you got cats and dogs, they don't care about daylight savings either.
No, yeah.
Yep. Not bad.
Yeah, how are you doing, Spencer?
What's
up on your end?
I bought myself some fancy frying pans from a fancy kitchen store, but they haven't arrived yet, and I'm bummed because I want to fry stuff in them.
Did you get like nice ceramic pans or copper pans?
I bought pans by a company called Allclad.
Okay, yes.
Oh, okay. So yeah.
Nice pans. So the pans I got, I bought 2 pans. They're typically $50 each. I got them on sale for $30 each. It's a pretty good deal.
Nice.
So I'm really stoked. Stoked to fry up some mushrooms, some onions, garlic, maybe. Do all sorts of stuff. It's gonna be good.
How about some zucchini?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. It's zucchini time, baby.
Hell yeah. Anything from the squash family gets me pumped. Any kind of root vegetable gets me pumped. You know.
I also root for root vegetables.
Hell yeah, dude. I think that rutabagas are criminally underappreciated. They're real tasty.
Oh, rutabagas are so good. You ever had rutabaga French fries?
Yeah,
those are fantastic.
So good.
Big fan.
They've got like a little bit more of a savory flavor than a potato, you know.
And they cook up a little softer than potatoes and don't get quite as crispy, especially when making fries. But I wonder how maybe an air fryer might work pretty well for that because it wouldn't take up so much oil.
About that, I gotta pick up a rutabaga now. Throw it in my air fryer.
Rutabaga. Oh, speaking of,
do you think we chant that at rutabaga concerts?
No.
Yeah, I like how we were on the same wavelength.
Same wavelength. We hang out too much.
Yeah, we're canceled. This is over. You also know my soundboard at this point. Like, you know that's in there, and I have it ready to go.
It's good. I mean, it's necessary. It's required.
It really is.
We gotta have it.
You know what I realized I don't have in there that I really need to is hello me, it's me again.
You do need that.
Right?
It's like isolated vocal. So you can just
yeah, I'm going to.
You need that on your soundboard, much like the largest size at a Cold Stone Creamery. You gotta have it.
The thing I dislike is it took me a second, but I know exactly what you're talking about. Because, I mean, you know me. I used to order the large size.
I mean, you gotta have it. You didn't like it. You didn't love it. You gotta have it.
I didn't. I had it to have it.
That's their sizing system, by the way. Like it, love it, gotta have it.
I know. That's why I'm disappointed that I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, I haven't been to one of those places. Actually, you know what? Weirdly enough, I
bet they have vegan ice cream now. Yeah.
I don't know. The last time I went to one of those, I think I was with you two and Beck. We were in downtown Seattle. This was like 11 years ago.
Whoa.
I'm pretty sure that was the last time I went to a Cold Stone.
There's a Cold Stone in downtown Seattle?
I don't think it's there anymore.
Yeah, I don't remember that shit at all.
Oh, yeah. The brain works in mysterious ways. Why do I remember this? I don't know.
Because it was really good ice cream.
It was pretty good. I remember having a good time with that ice cream. I think I got blueberry muffin batter ice cream. It was pretty
Ooh.
That sounds really good. Yeah.
good. Yeah, that's an all right flavor. I mean, it's a messed up flavor. Like, why does that exist? But okay. Speaking of which, I got to make some muffins, right?
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Great. They're so easy to make too.
Not in your new frying pans, though, right?
No.
Also, big recommendation: don't use bong water instead of water.
Oh God!
Do tell.
So when I was, living back up in Alaska,
Living large.
probably like 18 years old, had recently like gotten into weed, and stuff gets dry up in Alaska. Like, and by dry I mean, before weed was legal or whatever, if you were getting it illegally, and you didn't have a very consistent dealer, like it would just be hard to find weed sometimes,
Oh yeah.
And so I ran out of weed, and like I either didn't have money to get any more, or like couldn't find any, and so I decided, hey, there's a lot of like little bits and stuff in bong water, right?
Right.
I bet if I take the bong water and use it as water in something, I could probably get really high off that. And I'll like make rad edibles, yeah. And so I looked through the pantry for like the pre-made mix or whatever that like required the most water that I thought could mask it quite well enough. And so it was a box of I think like Kurtzman's Blueberry Muffins.
Okay.
And I was like, all right, let's do it. So I used the bong water instead of water, and it was mostly just like fucking like 3-month-old ash in the bottom and shit.
Yeah. I bet that tasted fucking terrible.
I made those muffins, and I ate like 6 of them, and I was like, oh, those were fucking gross, but this is gonna get me high.
It didn't get you high.
And an hour and a half later, I'm like, well, shit. Let me just eat like as many of them as I can, and hopefully that'll get me high. So I ate like 25 muffins, and I puked a lot.
Did it get you high at all?
No, it didn't get me fucking high at all. It
Didn't. Why would that work?
I don't know. I'm stupid. I still am, but
Yeah.
I was then too.
Yeah, exactly.
But I am still stupid, but I am wiser now. Because I won't do that again.
Yeah, now you should chug the bong water straight.
Straight up. That's what wisdom is. I just snort the bong water now. I just fucking line it up.
Straight to the main vein. Hell yeah. That's great.
Hell yeah. Cool.
Hey, Britt.
Hey, Spencer.
Can you hit us with a bucket fact?
I think that's in my wheelhouse.
Bucket fact, 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 bucket fact.
Although Buckethead has done a handful of covers spread out throughout his albums, most of which are either soundtrack themes or classical music, but with like the main outlier being a Jimi Hendrix song, there only appears to be one cover of a Buckethead song ever released on an album by a non-Buckethead related band.
Really? That's kind of surprising to me.
That is kind of surprising, yeah.
I thought so. I mean, there's a bunch of covers like all over YouTube and stuff, but they're like none of them are like on an album.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, and I don't know if that has to do with like Buckethead not like clearing his stuff for other people to do.
I think that has more to do with his fan base.
I think that too. Like, yeah. And also a lot of his stuff is very him and wouldn't make sense to cover, really, honestly.
Some of it would, though. Some of the stuff that you had me listen to this week, I think, would be beautiful stuff to cover. I mean, some really amazing material that was in there.
Oh, yeah.
We'll see. But anyway, this one cover was a cover of an early Deli Creep song called Binge and Grab, written instrumentally, like entirely by Buckethead. which first appeared in early 1990s Jelly Creep's live sets, but didn't appear again until Buckethead gave it an instrumental treatment for his 1994 album, Giant Robot. The cover in question shows up on the 2009 album Number One by a band called Some Like It Not.
Man, I thought you were going to say Sum 41, and I was getting so pumped. Wait, is Some Like It Not?
That's exactly what I told.
It's a terrible band name, but it's kind of good.
I couldn't really find any information on them, so I assume they broke up a long time ago.
Probably.
The odd thing about the cover is it's very much the main riff and like entirely the structure and like basically the backing of the song from the Buckethead song, just played by like different musicians, but the song doesn't use any of Maximum Bob's original lyrics from the Deli Creep song, and instead just make up their own lyrics.
Interesting.
Yeah, I listened to it and I was just confused the whole time, I guess, because it's like, I mean, the guitarist of Some Like It Not is good, but he's no Buckethead.
Who is?
That's true. That's true. Who is Buckethead? Great question.
Great question. One more hearing.
I think he would be a really interesting guy to get to know.
Oh, certainly.
If he would ever let you in to actually get to know him, because what I find most fascinating about him, a lot of the stuff on a couple of these albums that you had me listen to was kind of enlightening in a lot of ways, because they were so riff heavy that if you took 3 riffs out of any one song, out of the 20 or 30 riffs that he was playing within the context of the song, you could build an entire song out of 3 of those riffs.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it was just the fountain of ideas that was coming out of this guy's head is just absolutely staggering.
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry, the fountain of ideas coming out of his bucket.
Okay.
Of course.
You know, I found.
Sorry.
No, I mean, yes.
Yeah.
That was an interesting bucket fact. I would like to see other Buckethead covers, but not YouTube Buckethead covers. That may be something we should visit at some point in the future. But
Good point. Maybe.
yeah,
Or even if not covers, I was thinking, you know, just mining this stuff for ideas is fascinating to me.
Uh-huh.
I mean, the inspiration that I got out of some of it when I was listening to it was like, I got to learn what he's doing here. And I picked up a bass and it's like, okay, what is he doing? What's this progression?
Mhm.
How is this, you know, working together? And it was really fascinating to kind of dig into some of it and find out what the context. Now, I got to ask though, who plays bass and who plays drums for him?
So the drums are assumed to be almost entirely like just programmed.
Really? Okay.
So,
And then
yes and no. There are some records. I think I think the first of the records we listened to today, I think might have live drums. Some of the records seem to have live drums, but most of them are programmed.
And Dan Monty does play drums.
Interesting. Okay. I mean, that makes sense.
According to Brian Mantilla, who is a drummer, a great drummer. So, yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, so if there is a drummer on this album, it's Brian Mantilla. The bass duties are shared between Brian and Buckethead. And you can definitely tell a lot more when Buckethead's playing. I'm sorry, Dan Monty.
Yeah.
Dan Monty and Buckethead. You can tell a lot more, I think, when Buckethead's playing, though, because it's a lot more like slap heavy, kind of more funk oriented, or it's just like pretty simple stuff. I think Dan Monty might be the one who does like the more harmonic type stuff. Like, and maybe with that we'll kind of just dive into these albums.
Okay.
Yeah. So
We listened to 3 Buckethead albums.
we certainly did. Pikes 70, 71, and 72 respectively.
Mhm.
Snow Slug, Celery, and Closed Attractions.
Oh yeah.
Pretty diverse offering this week.
Pretty diverse.
Extremely diverse. Yeah, I found I didn't find any two songs on any of these albums and across the albums that were anything like each other.
Well, true. Given one of these albums was a song.
Yeah, well, that's true. But there was movements within that song too.
Sure.
Yeah.
We will get there, but Pikes 70.
Pikes 70 Snow Slug released on July 29th, 2014.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and that's going to be actually before Category of Awareness, the previous Pike.
Interesting. Okay.
It was released about a month before that.
Weird. Yeah, this one is interesting. There's some interesting riffs on it, certainly, and it feels like real drums to me in this record, because there's a lot of like those like high pitched toms that we've heard.
Yeah,
before.
the rototoms.
Yeah,
the rototoms rule. Yeah. Love those.
Yeah, it feels like real drums to me. The drumming is a little bit more interesting than some of the other Pikes, which I think really helps sell those riffs. And the way that he builds on those riffs, I think, was pretty interesting. Like, there's definitely like a lot of.
I had trouble listening to it at first because the main riff and everything, I couldn't tell that the guitar wasn't just using an octave pedal to go ahead and generate the bass tones.
He does that too.
It followed so closely to the main riff that it was just like there was no harmonic divergence at all, and it was just like lockstep. And my first thought was that when I heard it, honestly, was there's a guitar player playing bass.
Yeah.
Because you can tell when guitar players play bass. I mean, they think differently. Bass players typically look for open space, and either to fill that space or to open it further. And there was no open space there at all. It was just like, pound, 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 right in lockstep with the guitar. And I found that it's like, what am I actually hearing here? Is this the guitar player just with a sub-octave generator on this, just plowing this through for another track, or what?
Could be. At the same time, there were a couple tracks that had like really great bass on it, like track 3, 038.
Oh, agreed.
Really cool, hard, like really harmonic, like dynamic bass part that like wasn't doing like anything the guitar was doing. And I thought that one was probably Dan Monty.
Yeah, that one was interesting to me in particular because even though the bass seemed really far back in the mix though too. It wasn't out front at all. It was just really, really subdued, but it was doing interesting things in the back too.
And maybe we should talk about like the production of this album, because this one had a very distinct, unique sounding production. To me, it sounded like very like 80s, early 80s Russian inspired maybe.
Sure.
Yeah.
Or like just like early 80s prog in general. Like,
actually, that's one of the notes that I had, is this sounds a lot prog to me.
Yeah.
It was very, very much like some of that stuff, or who else? Camel, or some of those bands. Just very the riff structures themselves. Every once in a while, it would dig into something that was almost metally, but then it would kind of come right back out in the. What I also found fascinating is that there were no solos, really.
Yeah, barely any. Yeah.
That's true. Very, there was a lot of riffs. It was definitely a riff album, for sure.
And
we found that Buckethead does this sort of stuff. Like, he'll release albums that are very like riff or structure centric, less so on like leads, which I think is interesting, because it's like cool to hear him explore that space.
It is. Yeah, I completely agree. I really like track 2, especially in the intro, because it had a really interesting tension to the introduction. And for my money anyway, music has always been about tension and release.
Yeah.
You do things to build tension, and then all of a sudden you just let it go and just release everything. And then that gives the listener this all of a sudden kind of a euphoric rush of like, okay, resolve, and I found that the intro to that did a really, really good job of that. And then it went right into this really super proggy thing, which was actually very cool.
Oh, yeah.
The one thing that I did find interesting, though, too, is that the entire album, his guitar tone didn't change at all. Did you guys notice that?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, not a ton.
Yeah.
And the bass tone did change though, like, which was interesting.
Yeah, the bass tone did, but the guitar tone, it was just like he's got the same everything on it and just plowing through it. And it sounded very much Stratty to me too.
Interesting, Stratty, because I don't know how much he really uses a ton of like single coil stuff.
he may have the ability to coil tap on his guitars. I don't actually.
Oh, that's true. I never even thought about that. Yeah. Yeah, I liked this Pike quite a bit.
Yeah, I thought it was fun. It was a good listen.
No,
It's definitely worth listening to, especially because, like I said earlier, like the drumming is a lot more interesting than some of the other ones that we've listened to, and as a result, it gives it more energy, and like that energy is really nice.
It actually kind of feels like an album too. Like every song, like feels like a different song, but like they all have the same theme, which is nice.
Kind of, yeah. I think that the guitar tone adds to that. Thematically, it gives a consistency to it. Back to song 3, I found some interesting things on that. That was the one song in the album that I found was just an absolute, just fountain of riff ideas. Because what I found fascinating is that very often in this in particular, generally in a song you'll find that a theme will be established and then you'll modify on the theme and then you'll do something a little different, but you'll kind of circle around to that theme again eventually within the song. And he didn't. I mean, this song in particular, it just kept going riff, 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 and it never actually came back and resolved anything to the back at the beginning of the song. So as far as just this just unbelievable cache of riff ideas, it was like, holy crap, where does this guy come up with this stuff? And what was really interesting about 11:45 in the song, I found, don't know if you noticed it, but it got really Sabbath. I mean, all of a sudden he gets into the minor second stuff that's like, ooh, this is doom. I mean,
there's a couple very like Sabbath type things here, and actually the drumming is kind of Sabbath at places too. It's very like Bill Ward.
Yeah.
And I actually wrote a note on one of these songs and track 5 called SL52. I said it's like a maybe like 70s metal, but like with a very modern sludge vibe to it. Like maybe if like Bill Ward played for Mastodon.
Yeah. Yep.
Sure.
But it was pretty rad. Like, I mean,
yeah,
pretty fun.
Like, yeah, Mastodon's awesome, including their drummer. But if they had a worse drummer, they'd still be a good band. It's not
100%. Yeah.
On song 4 too, I noted that on the song 4 W1, right at about 17:15, he comes in with this kind of a quacky sounding envelope filter thing.
Oh, he does a lot of envelopes.
Oh, does he? Okay.
Oh yeah, he's a big envelope fan.
I like you said that.
I'm a big envelope fan.
Yeah, I would say like this is a good one to listen to. We listened to more though. That wasn't all
we did. Whoa, hold up though. But what ride does it go on?
Yeah,
what ride does it go on?
Oh, this is like one of those rides where like they take you through a slow progression and there's like a procession, right? And there's like animatronic figures, but this is one of like hell.
Whoa, hell. Okay.
Yeah.
Like so, like a tunnel of love, but hell.
Yeah, tunnel of hell.
Tunnel of hell.
Yeah, I completely agree. I had a note too on SL52 that it sounds like a 70s thunder riff. And but what was fascinating, 21:20 into the song, it finally breaks and it's really, really, really super tense, and all of a sudden it just breaks into this sudden resolve, and it's like, oh, where in the world did that come from? And it kind of took me by surprise that it did, in context to what I'd heard in the album before that, though, too.
Nice. Yeah.
Word. Sir, what ride at Buckethead Land is this the soundtrack to?
What ride on Buckethead Land is this the soundtrack?
So I don't know if you noticed, but on the cover of every album you listen to, it says Buckethead Land.
No, I didn't notice that.
Oh, well, okay. Well, so Buckethead Land is the fictional theme park that Buckethead has created. And it's assumed by a lot of people that because all of these albums have Buckethead Land at the head of them, and a lot of them have to do with like, theme park tangential ideas.
Yes.
Perhaps every one of these Pikes is a different ride at Buckethead Land. And so after each album, we figure out what ride at Buckethead Land did that go to?
Thus my idea for like some kind of weird animatronic hell. That's what I thought. Mostly because like there's a lot of bluesy riffs, like you said, a lot of minor seconds, like a lot of like, that like 70s version of hell, not like an 80s or 90s or modern version, but like a 70s hell,
like blood rock hell.
Yeah, where like you see Satan and he has like velvet wings and he's
like, that's my Satan.
The how about this? The Kiss version of hell. Like I imagine the devil is not that different from Gene Simmons.
Yeah,
let's
probably
be honest.
not.
No, they're
pretty close.
Can't imagine. I thought this album would be a great soundtrack to the Prague Coaster. It's a computer-generated coaster that's synced to Prague music, and all the tracks split apart, wherein each car can go back and forth in relation to the music. The tempo.
Is this anything like that? Like when you go to like a Regal theater and they play that like intro thing where it's like you're going through space and there's like the popcorn blast and there's like the giant Coca-Cola floating around. Is it like that? Because that's what I imagine.
Yeah, except they can't really afford that at Buckethead Land, so it's just a dude throwing popcorn and sodas at you.
That sounds better, actually. Like more realistic.
Cool. Yeah.
At the very least. Pikes 71 was another album we listened to.
Celery. Released on August 5th, 2014. So just 7 days, 1 week after the last Pike.
Yeah, it's been.
Yeah, I found this one really fascinating in relation to the last one because the first album sounded like there was like 0 overdubs on the album. It sounded like something that could have been played live in stream in a studio and just recorded in one shot and done. And this one actually had significantly different production value to it.
Yeah. I mean, the drums were definitely a lot more canned.
Yeah, definitely like very programmed drums. That didn't. I don't feel like that really hurt it. I mean, it's another one of those records. Now, here's the thing. The thing is that Buckethead does this sort of thing every now and again where he'll just do like I call it long form soloing. Where he just does like a kind of lead progression over like some rhythm riffs, and it's very, very long. And it kind of has its own movements, tension and release, like you mentioned. And then kind of resolves. And this one's a pretty good one, honestly, for one of those. I liked it.
I really enjoyed the album a lot. It had almost kind of an arena rock feel to some of it.
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
The riff structures. At one point, I noted that the bass was mixed so far back that it sounded like Metallica.
Only And Justice for All, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, it was way, way back.
Oh yeah.
But the overall tone that he was using in his guitar too, I thought was very interesting. It was a lot more depth to it and a lot more dimensionality to the tone.
This is his kind of standard like alt metal tone that he uses for a lot of stuff, and it's a good tone.
It is.
It's pretty recognizable and pretty iconic of the Bucket.
Yeah, it sounded not necessarily like a live amp, but it was a good simulation of a live amp if it was a simulation.
Yeah.
But getting really good tone out of a good tube amp is almost impossible now anyway, unless you're willing to spend a fortune on the tubes. Because the new
and
tubes
a microphone to track it with.
The new tubes that they have out there, they're awful for that. I don't know if you remember when we retubed. What was the other guy's name in Bloodfist? Chris's amp. Yeah, that great. And we actually retubed that with Mullard 12AX7s.
Yeah,
and
that sounded way
some
better.
Blackburn Mullards. I mean, real Blackburn Mullards, and put them in there. And it was like, holy crap, that thing sounded amazing. It sounded alive. And that's what I mean by a tube tone. With proper tubes, you get a dimensionality out of the tone that's impossible to replicate with anything else. It sounds like it's three-dimensional. And even with simulators now, they're getting closer, but I still haven't found a simulator yet that comes up with that kind of depth of tone.
Yeah. Compared to like other modern gear, though, I really feel like the amp sims, the plugins that we have now are like honestly better in a lot of circumstances than just recording your amp in your room with a microphone. Like you're going to get a better sounding mix.
Yeah, especially when it comes to sound treatment and isolation. Like engineering a microphone with a very loud amplifier. Like it's one thing to like, you know, just have like a Fender Twin Reverb or like something kind of small with really good tone and try miking that. But especially if you're like a metal musician and you want a super gainy, loud tone, like miking that well sucks.
Yeah, it's hard. And, you know, it's a very specialized skill. You know, and it's like, definitely. I'm not saying that stuff is bad. I mean, it can
sound great.
Yeah, totally. But like for the average person, like it's not worth it. I don't think
it's difficult to do. It really is. I know that. I was chatting with my friend Stuart Mathis here a while back, who plays guitar for Lucinda Williams, and he said that anymore the UA sims are really, really good. And he said that they're just getting really extraordinary. They're not cheap, but
and you have to have dedicated hardware to run that.
Yes,
in a lot of circumstances. But that stuff is amazing, right? And there's a couple like really interesting things. Like somebody released an analog synth on a USB stick. So it's like it's a circuit, it's an analog circuit on a USB stick that you plug in, and it bounces all the audio to that and back in real time. So it's just an analog synth that you can run off of a USB stick, which is just wild.
Really?
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah.
What kind of latency do you get off of that?
It's really good. From what I remember, it was like minuscule. Like it didn't matter. Like,
really?
Compose with it. Yeah.
Interesting idea.
Yeah. Right. Pretty wild.
Yeah. The first song on this album,
the only song on this album.
Oh, okay, yeah,
you're right. You mean the last song, sir?
What I found in this that his soloing, his phrasing was absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, it was really good phrasing. I kind of felt like this could have been broken up better into 3 songs.
I agree. Yeah.
Because like about 13 minutes in, like he changes direction a lot, and he like starts vamping on this really cool melodic thing that goes on for about 5 minutes. But when that ends, it goes very much back to like what he was doing before.
Yeah, at about 19 minutes and change.
Yeah, and like I really, really liked that 5 minutes far more than anything else on this album / song.
I agree. That's where I had actually made the note of the phrasing and the solos, because what I found what I always look for in guitar solos is something like what Frank Gambale does. Is he looks for not only space to do it, but he looks to try to make a statement. Like the solo has a beginning, it has a context to the middle, and then it has a conclusion, and it all makes sense as though it was a conversation, as if he was talking to you. And his soloing in here actually did that. It actually struck me as very lyrically, almost vocally lyrical the way it came across, and it was a really, really beautiful solo. In that one section especially was just amazing. And what was really fascinating is that the guy's obviously got chops. I mean, this guy is really very, very good, but he doesn't show them very often.
Not some. Yeah,
album to album, it depends, because there are some albums that are literally like 30 minutes of music and he's soloing and just shredding over like 29 minutes and 45 seconds of it.
This reminded me of, remember when we saw Eric Clapton, and there was one point in the Clapton concert that I looked at you and said, did he do what I think he just did? But he was just like sailing along this really smooth solo, and then he did something within about a half a second that took him 50 years to master.
Yeah,
and it's like, dear God, did I really hear that? And then he never did it again.
Yeah. Unfortunately, when we saw him too, he didn't go on any racist rants like he does.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I didn't know that. Tell me more about
Eric Clapton's absolutely a racist. One sec. I mean, if you want me to play this.
But what Buckethead did here, he would do this little shred thing, and then he'd go back to this smooth, silky, beautiful soloing, and then he'd shred just a second, and then just back to it. And it's like, okay, this guy's really, really talented. In order to do that and restrain himself, for one, from shredding full time is an art in itself, if he's got that kind of chops.
But you want to know something interesting? This is a bucket fact that maybe I think you should have shared here. This album, Pike 71, is the 100th album Buckethead released.
Oh,
Bucket fact.
I didn't know that. Thank
you. Beautiful.
But what it kind of says to me is that, you know, guitarists don't have to play blazing fast.
Nah.
It's the soulful feel of it, of every single note matters. It's something that Chick Corea always said. In fact, Frank Gambale's story about him was like, every note counts. And evidently he told him, you know, you can play a lot of notes, but every one of them had better matter.
100%.
And your note choices, and I find that being a bass player, I find that's extremely important, because you know, you don't want to overplay and blow over the vocalist. You don't want to diminish the spotlight when somebody is soloing. You just want to have a good foundation for it. And as you transition things, you have to be very careful about your note choices of what you do in order to fit in. As Sting said, it's not a chord until the bass defines it. So one note that you can play in there can change the entire construct of the song that you've just played.
I bet Sting has said some weirder stuff, though, right?
Oh, I'm sure. He's a pretty fascinating guy, though.
Sting has ever said is,
who the fuck packed deodorant? I don't wear deodorant. That's a start, I guess.
Excellent. I think that this album would be a good soundtrack to like a Tunnel of Love type thing.
I was thinking more like a Tunnel of Celery.
Oh yeah, that too. Yeah, it could be the music that they play in the kitchens while the cooks are prepping.
Yeah, I wrote here celery themed restaurant, or restaurant that only serves celery.
Bold. That's a bold stance.
I think it'd be cool to have a restaurant called Tunnel of Celery, right?
Is the architecture celery based? Is it like, does it look like celery? Like you walk in?
I mean, if you could find a building to do that, unless you had a lot of money to build that, I guess.
I mean, this doesn't seem like a lot of money idea, but like imagining that it does.
Well, I'm trying to think though, like would the building like look like celery lying down, or like a stalk like standing up?
Standing up, I think. But then it has like a smaller celery, like,
so it's like a semi-crescent.
You know.
I actually made note on here too that of even more so than the first album, this one sounded very much like single coil sort of sound. Sounded like single coil bridge pickup, just kicking.
Could be,
but
I mean,
almost thin, but not really. It was still really ballsy, but not at all, beefy humbucker sort of a sound at all.
Beefy. Listen to one more Pike.
Yeah.
Pike 72.
Oh, yeah.
Closed Attractions. Released on August 13th, 2014. 8 days after Celery.
This one, like, it names its soundtrack in the name. Like, we don't even...
I was gonna say, it does feel like a Closed Attractions album. It's kind of sleepy.
Yeah.
It's not bad. It's some of his
melodic leads on it.
Yeah. It's definitely a more lead heavy, like post-rocky type thing.
Yeah, 100%.
For the most part, and it's pretty good. I don't really like. I think the album gets better near the end. It starts off a little too bluesy for my tastes, and then gets a lot more like just kind of calm, melodic.
I actually, I have to tell you, there was nothing about this album that I didn't absolutely love.
Nothing. Wow.
Nothing. I mean, I was astounded at the difference in what I heard between this and the first two albums. You're right. I thought that at first it's the tone that he was using was this clean, crisp, almost. It was like going into the mountains in the springtime in Alaska and breathing in the air, this crispness that you feel with it. And it was this amazing,
poetic. It
was almost like Mark Knopfler, sort of a just pristine sort of a tone. And the melody lines were absolutely beautiful. I mean, just gorgeous, gorgeous melodies.
Buckethead.
Yeah.
Buckethead.
Everything in this was actually really melody driven too.
Yeah.
And this one, unlike the first two, actually did return to themes within the context of the song very, very differently than what I heard in those first two albums. And I don't know if part of it was because of the tempos that he was using, that he was pulling those things in. He did amazing work with creating open spaces. Especially in the second song, was that blew me away. And it was, that one in particular had what almost sounded like a gut string guitar in the back, which I don't know if it was gut string or if it was steel string, but it sounded kind of like a gut.
Do you mean nylon string?
Yeah,
exactly. I think it was a nylon string.
Yeah. I don't think they use guts for strings anymore. So.
Yeah, it had that ambiance to it. It was just kind of a really warm feeling to that guitar in the back too.
I actually really liked it. I liked the atmosphere to it, and like, so these albums, these like more like nuanced, like atmospheric, melodic albums, tend to be really popular on the internet. But this one was not really that popular. It didn't really have like not a lot of people talking about it on the internet, which I thought was interesting. And that made me listen to it a little bit harder, but I liked it. I thought it was good. I thought it was one of the better ones in that style that he's done.
Honestly, when I heard it, my first thought was, where can I buy this? I'd like this in my collection. Because
Bucketheadpikes.com, baby.
Okay. The third song, honestly, made me want to cry. I mean, it was so emotional and so. It reminded me of a particular incredibly attractive blonde lady I know.
Hell yeah. We love that.
Yeah. Cool. But it was just soft and it was just elegant and beautifully stated. Just an amazingly beautiful song.
He's
actually the fourth one is too.
That emotive stuff, like when he really like commits to being emotive in an atmospheric way, like he can do some really interesting stuff. I definitely feel like this is a good example of that, and I thought it was really enjoyable to listen to. These three were like a good mix of like his styles. Like we depending on what the three albums are like it really vastly changes our discussion. Like sometimes we have like a longer discussion and sometimes it's a shorter discussion about the album simply because, you know, sometimes they're all very, very similar. Sometimes they're very, very different. Sometimes they like don't contrast each other very well, and sometimes they really, really do. And I feel like in this circumstance, like this, you know, sequence of three was actually like a very good contrast. Like they all, you know, have kind of brought things.
It was.
Yeah, it was a pretty good introduction to Buckethead, and which makes me ask, sir, had you listened to Buckethead at all before this? What was your history with Buckethead?
I've heard a few things over the years, but not a lot. I have one comment too, that on the 5th song on this album, there was something that struck me as really interesting. The tone was still really, really crisp and really, really tight. It was very unlike the first few songs, though. But I don't know if you guys caught this or not, but it reminded me tremendously of early Eric Johnson.
Okay.
Around the Venus Isle, Avaya Musicom sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It had a distinct vibe about that was very, very much like Eric Johnson, the way it was flavored and the way it was phrased.
I'm sure Eric Johnson's probably a pretty big influence for Buckethead. Like that doesn't seem outside the realm of, you know, his coupe.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you know, well, I think any guitar player should listen to Eric Johnson because the guy's a flipping genius.
Yeah.
It's great that Johnson is another word for dick.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know where that comes from.
Eric Johnson.
LBJ Lyndon Baines Johnson.
Oh, right. Yeah.
He had a monster hog.
Yeah. LBJ's monster hog. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a historical fact that, like, Lyndon Baines Johnson, like, had a fucking giant
Will you say his name again for me one more time?
Lyndon Baines Johnson.
You said it so weird. This is good.
Okay.
Yeah. So he would just like take it out and show it to people, like
senators and shit.
It's like recorded in history, like many times. Yeah. Like you would just like whip out his fat dong and be like,
"Leader of the free world, baby. Civil Rights Act, baby. Magnum dong, baby."
Yeah. Which of these 3 albums do you think that Lyndon Johnson would like the most? I think the first.
Oh, definitely the first one. He'd be like, I don't know about this hard rock and roll music going on. And then at the end of it, he'd be like, it's a little groovy, but not.
He was a pretty hip guy overall, really. I mean,
he was all right.
Hey, he signed the Civil Rights Act.
Yeah, which was I mentioned that like a minute ago out the gate, just because like that's something he's deserving of credit for.
The president could do, really.
Yeah,
that's good.
You know, but you know, Vietnam.
Yeah,
tremendous.
Yeah. Downside.
Now you know it's time for my personal favorite part of the show. It's because it's the part where I get to talk the most. And that is called
Statements from the Bucket Boy.
All right, so Statements from the Bucket Boy. This is a segment of the show where we like to shine a light into the dark corners of the internet. Bring up some statements that people are throwing out there, things people are saying, the talk, the haps, if you will, you know, the impression that they get, to quote the mighty Pasta.
I will never knock on wood, to also quote the same song.
Anyway, so what this really means is, hey, we're going to read some comments from people on the internet, and we're going to just talk about the things that they have to say. You know, is it valid? Is it good? Is it bad? What we got?
Comments from the bucket net, if you will.
Indeed.
Indeed.
YouTube user Arifin Priam says, very few people know Buckethead because very few people understand good. So 2 problems with that. Firstly, Buckethead is not not well known. He's a very successful musician. And secondly, I don't like to understand what is good is a pretty broad thing. You know, everybody kind of has their own perspective on that, right?
Yeah, that's an awfully subjective statement. Yes, that's
an awfully subjective YouTube comment.
I'd say what is good, baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me no more.
Okay.
Okay.
That almost works.
I understand where the guy's coming from because he's just a huge fan of something, but at the same time, you know, in the life of every musician, you've got clunkers and you've got success stories. And some people will be fans and even embrace the clunkers.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, I'd rather be realistic about it personally and recognize where I need to improve.
Yeah. Heck yeah. You got to do it.
Hell yeah.
The band. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Always hell yeah. That's all we talk about on this.
YouTube user Eugene Zwang says, Bucket is the only one who can write a 29 minutes tune about a vegetable that we don't eat, and it is still tasty every minute. But wait, user Four Walls Music responds, truth. So these people don't eat celery, is what I'm hearing.
Celery a vegetable? I thought it was a grass.
Yeah, that's a great question. A lot of people talking about celery being a vegetable, and yeah, it's like a...
I guess it is, maybe.
Have they ever eaten it with peanut butter?
I know, right? Like, what are you doing?
No, it's
like, I mean, I'm sorry. Anything you pair up with peanut butter is going to be tasty.
That is true. And also, like, any soup that you put celery into is going to taste better as a result of celery being in it, because celery's amazing in soup.
No, well, I mean, you can just add celery salt.
And tuna salad and salmon salad.
I'm talking about celery flavor. I'm talking about celery flavor.
Okay, yeah.
You get a celery flavor in your soup soup's going to taste better. Now, celery as a like a thing to eat, like I think that can be a bit more contentious of a statement, like considering whether or not you want that in a soup. But the flavor of celery cannot be understated. It is delicious.
And it's high in water. It's high in fiber. There's nothing bad there for you.
It's actually
I'd rather eat that than kale.
It's one of the few things that actually has fewer calories in it than it takes to digest.
Correct, yes.
Nice. Get yourself in a deficit there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Celery diet, baby. Yeah, just get full on celery and you'll die of scurvy.
I always thought that was super funny. Like growing up, like you'd hear like stories of like college students getting scurvy
just by like eating Totino's party pizzas.
Yeah, ramen, which is like that just is amazing to me. I think that's so good.
Just like they're bringing back like things you only got by like living on like ships going around the world in like the 18th century. You know, just because they can't be bothered to eat anything but Hot Pockets.
My father actually worked with a guy who was hospitalized for malnutrition because for months he ate breakfast, lunch, and dinner at McDonald's.
Oh my God.
I said, what about breakfast at McDonald's?
Yeah, that's the name of the episode.
I don't know what he was eating there, if he was just eating fries and hash browns with each meal or what, but
it's like
he was malnourished.
You know what's funny? It's like it would actually be like kind of difficult to be malnourished eating simply like potatoes and cheese, because if you eat potatoes with cheese on them, you actually get all vitamins. A little bit of all vitamins,
which is weird. It's one of those things like beans and rice.
Yeah, like potatoes and cheese is like one of those weird pure meals where you like get pretty much all of the nutrients you need. So it's very surprising that could happen.
Which is how the Irish still exist. Right there.
Yikes. Anyways, let's move on here. Up next, we have YouTube user Grant Morning, who says, Bit of a manifesto here. I think Buckethead might not be a human. I'm literally being serious, too. Like 320 albums or something with constant fresh content. How can someone even create that much music, let alone perfect it, let alone be God at it?
What does he think? He's AI or something?
I'm not sure. Like I think that the most realistic interpretation of that is like Buckethead is multiple people. Like that.
Well, I mean, he kind of, for the Pikes, he is.
Yeah.
It's him and Dan Monty, at least.
Yeah.
Nah, probably just him and Dan Monty.
But, yeah, I like the idea of people on YouTube being like, yeah, I'm so serious, Buckethead's an alien. When do we start seeing Buckethead Lizard Man conspiracies?
When do you think Q gets a hold of Buckethead?
Oh, we mentioned Buckethead in the Q drop. Would be amazing.
I mean, we can do it right now, and it's going to take off, even if we don't want it to.
No, unfortunately.
No.
A little bit more complicated than that, okay? We wouldn't be posting with Q's trip code, so nobody would believe it.
True, but there are lots of people there who just start conspiracies.
Oh, yeah, there's lots of dumb pieces of shit. I mean, like,
There's
yeah,
a lot
that's
of-
the only reason that stuff exists. People.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, big shout out to the podcast QAnon Anonymous.
Oh, it's so good. It's
You
my
should
favorite
listen
show
to it.
right now. I
It's
listen
fantastic.
to it obsessively. It's very good. It's very funny. Anyways, if Buckethead was not a human, like, why is he still here on Earth?
Well, what if he's not human, but he's like just a really oddly shaped dog?
Or like a shaved Bigfoot?
Ooh, yeah. What if he's Sasquatch? And Sasquatch was just like tired of living in the woods, and he's like, I want to go to Cali and fucking shred.
And that's why he doesn't play without the bucket on and the mask.
Oh,
I-
because then we'd recognize
okay.
him from those like
Hair
that
growing out of his
JPEG.
forehead thing.
Yeah, we'd be like, oh, he's a
Mm.
Squatch. But now, like, yeah.
Bucket and the Hendersons, yeah.
Yeah, that could be the name of the episode.
Yeah, I think that's better. We already had a breakfast at.
Totally. So this was a comment about the first album, Pike 70, and it says YouTube user Wizard Riak says, "LOL, this cover looks like what you would find on a packet of cigarettes in the UK with a warning about smoking," which I think is pretty good.
Let's I'd have to go back and look at the cover. Which one was that?
Pike 70. Go ahead and share it with us if you wouldn't mind. That's not far off. That also looks like a pair of testicles.
Yeah, it does look like it could be like some charred lungs or something for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely does look like organ-esque. And then I don't know why they'd put like that face on the ad though. That'd be weird.
Why not?
But why? Also,
Great point.
yeah.
Another great point. We listened to YouTube user Subish GC, which says the first Buckethead song. Oh, this is in reference to Pike 71. So a really long guitar solo. It says the first Buckethead song that actually made me dance to it. I just shut my room door and dance. It's actually the middle 4-note thingy that nearly broke me down to tears. And then we had a response here. William Hoggern responds and says, "Tears of joy. I've never been one to dance. I've never been one to dance. I've always have moved to music. When I'm trying to get things done, but Bucket's music. Sorry, this is very hard to read. It's all commas between everything.
Read it with the commas.
Okay, I was just start again. William Hoggern says, "Tears of joy. I've never been one to dance. I've always have moved to music. When I'm trying to get things done, but Bucket's music gets my whole body really moving. My neighbor must think I'm having seizures. How long you been listening to BH? I can recommend some songs that will keep you dancing." So all of my pauses there, those were commas. That's why it was so awkward. Two things. Firstly, dancing to Buckethead. That's cool. Into that.
Sure.
Second thing, neighbors thinking you are having seizures when you are in fact dancing. A fun concept.
Perhaps they don't have the best rhythm. If
Is this like Elaine from Seinfeld, sort of a dance?
yeah, instead of like a thump, thump, thump from upstairs, it's like thump, 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 thump.
Doing the worm, maybe, or doing like an attempted worm.
Ooh, some b-boying.
Yeah. Can you worm? Can you?
No, I can't b-boy at all.
Please remedy that.
Should I?
You have the time.
Just start in my 30s, just breakdancing in my 30s. I should just do that.
Breakdancing in your 30s. It's the decade to breakdance.
Yeah, right. Yeah, everyone starts out breakdancing in their 30s.
Yeah, that's what you do.
Lots of famous breakdancers, like
Jamie Kennedy.
Oh wait, there are no famous breakdancers.
Jamie Kennedy. Hello. Come on. Kicking it old school.
We're not going to qualify.
He's got to be at least 30.
Breakdancer. Yeah, he's like in his 40s now.
Well,
but
he's a famous breakdancer in his 30s, so
I don't know if we can consider him famous or a breakdancer.
Let's get him on the show.
Yeah.
He's probably not doing anything.
No, he's definitely not doing anything.
Totally. YouTube user Gumball95 says, I broke a string on my air guitar playing this.
That's kind of cute.
Pretty good sentiment there.
No. I like that a lot, actually.
Yeah, have you ever seen the world air guitar competition? Or there's air guitar bands. So they would hold air guitar shows at El Corazon here in Seattle, a music venue, where people would just play air guitar on stage, and they're professional air guitarists.
So this is literally just drag queens for straight people.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
That's literally what you're describing is for drag queens for people who are afraid to go to a gay bar.
Or just have never thought about that being the thing they want,
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's interesting. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I like living in a world where one could become a professional air guitarist or a professional air guitarist. That's great.
That's a cool thing to do, I guess. I prefer to be a professional air bassist though, so I can do the bass face.
Oh, the air bass bass.
Do that. You can't do that head motion when you're a guitarist. They don't.
No, you can't. And so I did that head motion a lot when I was playing bass. It just it happens. You do that kicking thing. You're like.
Yeah, you naturally you look back at videos of yourself and you're like, did I just Geddy Lee? Fuck.
I mean, as soon as you start playing bass, you're like, oh man, I should go a soul patch. Oh man, I gotta.
Now you know. Now you know, Spencer. You can't stop it. You can't stop it.
It's the move. It's the bass.
It's inevitable. The bass. That's the bass face. It's the soul patch.
It's part of the bass face. 100%. You gotta have some kind of facial hair.
Well, I don't know if you've ever tried one of these. I've seen them, but I've never tried one of them. It's this body pack, and it's like a speaker that a bass player can wear on his body so you get the sensation if you're wearing in-ears and you can't hear your amplifier. But then they've got this little pack that you put on your body, and it's effectively a little vibrating thing so you can actually feel the impact of the bass in your body while you're playing.
That's sick. No, I haven't tried that, but that sounds cool. I also like the idea. I've seen those things where it's it's an armband, but it's like a vibrating metronome.
Don't you already have that vibrating thing in you at all times, Spencer?
Shut up. Yeah, so there's a company that sells them, and they sync via Bluetooth, so you can sync a bunch of them together. And it's like a vibrating armband, so everybody in the band can wear it and all be synced up. Pretty cool, very cool idea. I like that a lot.
Sick. Pretty
sick. So a couple of interesting statements about Buckethead here. User Newpath says, smooth, rich, foaming, smoking, chilled bee brew.
Interesting. So, first off, do you think Buckethead like drinks at all?
Coffee, 100%.
Oh yeah. Oh, he mainlines coffee.
Yeah.
Do you think? I mean, and also Diet Coke.
And also Diet Coke. Yeah.
Diet Coke.
Drinks, like, I would say, like, occasionally. I don't know. I really don't know. I would imagine he does here and there, but probably I can't imagine he's a heavy drinker.
Yeah.
If you're on the road as a professional musician, that doesn't work out so well.
Yeah, totally.
Tell that to Ozzy Osbourne, Eric Clapton. Like we were just talking about Eric Clapton. Like,
oh yeah, Zach Wilde.
Stone drunk.
You heard that story about Zach Wilde where he like didn't shower for an entire tour or something like that, like multiple times. It's like
disgusting.
It's like a thing he does. Like when he goes on tour, he just like tries not to shower as long as possible.
Why? Just to make everyone else miserable? Yeah. What the fuck? That's just mean to everyone else in his band. Like,
yeah, dude. The roadies that have to pick him up when he falls down drunk on stage. Like, I feel bad for those guys.
Dude.
Like my friend, so one of my friends saw Zach Wilde play at Ozfest like a long time ago. And they said that he was playing and he was so drunk that he couldn't stand up. So he just fell over while he was playing, but he still kept playing. And then roadies came out and picked him up and then just like propped him up and stood behind him while he played. And he just like kept playing and apparently played fine, but was just so fucking drunk. He just couldn't stand.
That is legendary.
It's like kind of amazing in a way. But I was just thinking about like how smelly he must have been. My goodness.
Right? Golly. Yeah, especially like having that like booze smell on him as well as the not showering
and
as well
like
as
a lot of like ash. He's probably like smokes a lot too. So it's like probably just like this cigarette, old beer, dried alcohol sweats.
Bong water and ball sweat.
Balls. And, just all the good stuff. So like a Magic the Gathering competition.
Yeah, any Magic the Gathering, anything. Card shop,
totally.
Whatever.
100%. Another interesting statement here. A returning commenter, YouTube user Gumball95, we talked about earlier.
Hell yeah, Gumball. We love you, Gumball.
I don't know if we love Gumball.
Lay it on me. What does Gumball got to say? I'll tell you if we love Gumball or not.
Well, it says, even Helen Keller likes Buckethead. I think that's impossible for us to say.
Yeah, well, I mean, she has been dead since before Buckethead, I think, was alive. So
wait, really? When did Helen Keller die? Hey Siri, when did Helen Keller die? Come on.
Helen Keller died June 1st, 1968 at age 87 in Easton.
Wow, that was so loud. I'm glad that it
He died before Buckethead was born,
Yeah, okay. All right, well, well then, you know what, YouTube user Gumball95? You're fucking wrong. Helen Keller was fucking dead. Yeah. Pretty.
Yep.
Anyways. User Lamarta says, need strong help to understand drawings in layout. Is there a celery somewhere I cannot see? And user Fails responds, in the song, yes. The celery's in the music. How do you feel about that?
Well, it's known that for most of this, he fretted with a stalk of celery as a slide.
Yeah, I'm just going to say that's real.
That's definitely, exactly. That's why he called it celery, is because he just attached, celery to each of his fingers.
Oh, yeah.
And just used them to fret. That's why the whole album is just all bar chords.
That's shaved
nothing
power right there.
Nothing but bar chords, no leads, all bar chords, baby. Celery bar chords.
I love it. Our last YouTube comment, but not our last statement.
Hey, I'm sorry. This song's in Celery sharp. Let me change my tune.
I like that. Okay, so our last YouTube comment, but not our last statement from the Bucket Void for today. YouTube user Bob Tilton says,
Bobby, my boy. How you doing, Bobby?
am I the only one who hears Welcome to the Jungle in the riff? And then Gary Liverton responds, yes, you are a dickhead. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, I like that one the most. So the Buckethead community is kind of plagued by this like really understated like lack of negativity on anything. Like, especially within like comments on social media and stuff, like even if people don't like something he's doing, they just like respectfully disagree or something. They're like, oh, this is my favorite Buckethead, but I love Buckethead or whatever.
Yeah, it's almost always very positive. Yeah.
Right, and I want to change that. Especially when people are like, oh, Buckethead, it was kind of like Slash and stuff. And I'm like, hey, listen, shut the fuck up first. And like one wears a fucking leather fucking top hat because he's an idiot, and the other wears a bucket because he rules.
Hell yeah.
And also their levels of guitar playing are night and day, and by night and day I mean
night man and day man.
Yeah, we're just really just like a steamy pile of shit and a very nice pile of shit. No,
all right, okay.
Yeah, let's
our last statement from the Bucket Void for tonight is not from YouTube. It comes from me going to Yahoo Answers and typing in bucket space head, because I wanted to see if that would widen up our field of purview here a little bit. We get a question here that is not directly related to Buckethead, or perhaps it is. I'm going to read this imagining that this is Buckethead writing this question.
Okay.
Anonymous asked in Home and Garden / do it yourself. There's a bucket stuck on my head. This is serious. Me and my friend were messing around and I put a bucket on my head just to be stupid and I can't get it off. When I try to take it off, it feels like it will rip off my ears. Sucks. We had a few comments here. Some of them more helpful than others. But my favorite one...
Origin story?
What? Oh, yeah, this could be an origin story. Yeah. Yeah. You see where's the bucket just because he can't get it off.
This is like the MCU version of Buckethead. This is his origin story.
When's Buckethead joining the MCU? He's basically a superhero. Come on, basically. Kevin Feige, make it happen.
Yeah, that guy. Do it.
Yeah. All right. So YouTube, or not YouTube, my apologies. Yahoo Answers user Charlie1916 responds, and this was 1 decade ago, by the way.
Okay.
He says, drink a whole gallon of water within 5 minutes, then stand on your head, parentheses bucket, until you puke. Your body can't handle that much water in that amount of time, and it will reject it. This won't help your situation, but it makes me laugh knowing you will probably do it. Well, I gotta go get some beers. 3 cheers to Buckethead. I think that he meant he was referencing Buckethead in that comment.
Yes, absolutely he was. 3 cheers to Buckethead.
I think
cheers. 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 So hold up before we go any further. 3 cheers to something. Have you ever like seen any group of people like be asked to give 3 cheers to something?
Only in media.
Cheers. Cheer, like no
they used to use hip hooray, hip hip hooray, hip hip hooray. That's the 3 cheers.
I've seen that happen before. Yeah,
that happen. Yeah,
it's cringy, but it happens.
It's disgusting.
Nice.
It's gross. It's filth.
I've never had a job where I've had to sing "Happy Birthday" for a customer. Thankfully, that seems very soul killing.
No, I guess I have. Like, you know, no. Yep.
Yeah.
I have. You never had to sing Happy Birthday at Hope?
Oh, well, that's a good question. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I guess I did, but I feel like that's different. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like it's not like an off the street.
It's not a customer. Yeah.
You know, it's not like a
table
table
relationship with.
dickheads who aren't going to tip you. And you have to sing Happy Birthday to them. That seems
I don't know.
terrible.
I never got tipped at a group home by any of the dudes I took care of, so it kind of is.
Par for the course, baby. I love that. I like to think that Yahoo Answers user Charlie1916 is a bucket bot out in the wild doing what we're doing now, almost. It's just, sowing the seeds of chaos in the hearts of the timid.
Going in raw, baby.
And with that brings us to the end of...
I think what you guys are doing is really cool. I mean, I think Buckethead is a largely misunderstood artist in a lot of ways, by the mainstream especially.
Sure.
He's this incredible talent that's out there. I had no idea that he was that prolific in the production of music that he was releasing.
Oh, yeah.
That's astounding that anybody has released that much material.
Truly,
and especially with diversity of what it is out there. That's incredible.
Yeah, that's actually a sentiment that Britt and I have shared before. It is like legitimately impressive what he's doing, and like it's been really fun to listen to it all because like I feel like I have this perspective on him and on music production that I just didn't really have before. Like it's genuinely impressive what he's doing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, the fact that he's been hired by some huge names, really, to work as a sideman too, is a testament to the fact that these guys don't hire slouches. I mean, they have their pick of the litter for the very best of the very best who they want to work with. And here's this guy that wears a bucket and a mask that they choose to hire to bring on stage. That's impressive.
Yeah.
I mean, his talent alone is credential for his who he is, and the body of work that he's released is just. I'm going to listen to a lot more of this stuff. This is very, very cool.
Heck yeah,
cool. Yeah,
we should maybe make a playlist on like the Spotify.